Hello and welcome back to Jack-O-Ween. I'm of course your host, Jack Knives. Let's take a look at a movie that is the true epitome of horror, The Woman.
Do we really get to keep her?
We do.
Chris Cleek is a lawyer and family man, as well as an avid hunter. One day he stumbles across a mysterious, dingy, feral woman bathing in the river, captures her, and with the help of his also sadistic son, try to force this feral forest woman to be subservient to him and a civilized society. The woman, however, will not be so easily tamed, and will wait for the right time for revenge. Okay. This is not at all going to be a movie for everyone. There's a lot of TP in this movie. Normally, I try to avoid those kind of movies solely because I feel that it's a subgenre that's generally designed to just disturb and disgust you, with no actual principle other than doing so. But then there are the rare exceptions where it actually does have a reason. It does have a method to the madness. And there is a good, decent payoff. This is an example of actually doing it pretty well. The movie is actually a sequel in a 3-part movie series called The Offspring Trilogy. The first movie, Offspring, is basically just about a bunch of people in the woods that are cannibals and them getting killed, pretty much. It's fine. It's just kind of paint by numbers, which is why I don't really recommend it. And you don't really need to know that much about it going into this movie. However, this movie's sequel, Darlin', you do need to see this movie in order to watch that movie. Which I highly recommend, Darlin', but again, you have to see this movie to get to that movie. But I can say there is some merit to this movie. Again, I say this with all sincerity, it is not for everyone. There's a lot of violence in it. It's got a lot of disturbing things in it. Not as much as you would think. Like, it's not Hostel level or anything crazy like that. Chris Cleek is the character played by Sean Bridgers, and he has this really just, how do I put this in a way that won't get me censored? He has a very modern day Red State attitude, if that makes any sense. He goes from this facade of this guy who's this caring, loving, everyday man. But really, behind the scenes, he is a vicious, visceral monster. And it is on full display. And the horror actually comes a lot from him and his son, Brian, played by Zach Rand. Both of them are just vile in the reality that they bring. What I mean by that is they don't come off as far-fetched. They don't come off as unrealistic, which this subgenre teeters a lot on into the crazy realistic. But what's so good about this movie is it doesn't play it like at all unseriousness. There's some stuff in it that it's a little over the top, but for the most part, it is actually played straight almost the entire movie. Yeah, pretty much the entire movie, it is all played straight. There's stuff in it that you feel sick to your stomach, not in a gross way, but in a angrily way, if that makes any sense. The movie is based off of the writing of Jack Ketchum. I'm going to just say it. I hate Jack Ketchum. I think he's a terrible writer, because generally it's just TP for the sake of what boundary can I push. He made The Girl Next Door, which I will never review because it is based on a true story, which makes it even more vile, and it's just disgustingly horrible. Whereas this movie dials it back a lot, surprisingly. I enjoy the fact that it does that because it's directed by Lucky McKee. Lucky McKee is probably one of the most underrated directors. He made one of my favorite horror independent movies called May, which if you haven't seen it, I believe it's available on Tubi. It's a horribly lovely, dark, subversive horror movie. It has a lot to do with self-reflection and body dysmorphia, but not in a disgusting, well, there is some disgusting stuff in it. But Lucky McKee actually pulls it off really well because he has a understanding of showing just enough. He doesn't need to show everything. He shows just enough. He actually holds himself back a lot, which is something most directors really prevent themselves from doing. But he focuses more on the visceral acting of the characters, less on the actual acts themselves, more of the after effects and before. And I can safely say most directors, especially independent directors, would probably fall into just focusing on an image too much and trying to see what buttons they can push, but not Lucky McKee. Lucky McKee dials it back. He does understand the art form, and he really should be appreciated for more than he really is. This is a perfect example of given a lump of clay and forming it into something actually well paced and well done. But I can't talk about a movie called The Woman without talking about The Woman, played by Pollyanna McIntosh. Now, despite the fact that she doesn't actually really talk in this movie, her performance of this guttural, almost creature woman who is just so feral. That's the best way to put her. She's a feral, non-woman woman. It really does show a way of making you care for a person or whatever going through such stuff. It's really hard to explain. Her performance is very, very, very well done. She herself actually was the director and funder and I believe writer of the third movie, Darlin, which shows the progression of her understanding her character and not putting herself in the focus of it. It takes a lot for an actor to do that. I really like this movie, even though, again, it's a movie I don't expect everyone to like. I don't expect most people to really get too much into it. But I think if you are in the right headspace to see disturbing, but not too disturbing a film, really want to see this movie to appreciate Darlin, because Darlin is a great movie. This movie is also great on its own, and it does it in a way that doesn't feel too much. It feels like a good balance of TP and just overall horror, as well as showing justified revenge. And I think because of that, I had to kind of talk about it for this year's Jack-O-Ween, considering it is horror of Jack-O-Ween. I couldn't really think of many other movies like this movie that I could really talk about that deal with the horror of humanity. Come back next time for some more horror delights on Jack-O-Ween.